The world knew Clara Avery as the glamorous wife of Maple Falls billionaire. But the woman who smiled at charity galas and appeared in glossy magazines lived a very different life when no one was watching. Tonight, we open the pages of her hidden journals and discover the secrets she never wanted anyone to read. In this episode, we'll uncover the private side of Clara Avery, her journals, her secret bank accounts, her whispered dreams of escape. We'll reveal the hidden cracks in her marriage to Richard, the forbidden love with Ethan Cross, and a web of secrets that pointed to an even darker truth. Clara Avery was Maple Falls' darling. Elegant, graceful, always put together. To most of the town, she lived a charmed life. But investigators digging through her personal belongings found a very different Clara. In her dresser, tucked beneath folded scarves, they found 3 leather-bound journals. The entries spanned nearly 5 years. They painted a portrait of a woman trapped, longing, and quietly rebelling against the life her husband built around her. One of her earliest entries read, "I sometimes wonder if people look at me and see the truth. That all the glitter is just glass, sharp edges cutting into me. Richard says I'm ungrateful. Maybe I am. But gratitude shouldn't feel like a prison." As detectives read further, Clara's voice grew more urgent. She detailed the controlling ways of her husband Richard, how he monitored her spending, criticized her friendships, and controlled her schedule down to the hour. In one entry, she described attending a gala with Richard. "He smiled at the cameras, but his hand on my back was firm, almost painful. To the world, it looked affectionate. To me, it was a warning, stay in line." But interwoven with her pain was something else. Hope. Clara wrote often about Ethan Cross, the landscaper who became her confidant, then her lover. Their affair had begun innocently, long talks in the garden while Richard traveled. But soon, it became the one place where Clara felt free. "With Ethan, I can breathe," she wrote. "He sees me, not Richard's wife, not Maple Falls' queen. Just Clara." The journals revealed more than just emotion, they documented action. Clara had been secretly preparing to leave Richard. Bank statements confirmed she transferred nearly $150,000 into an account under her maiden name. Detectives also discovered printouts for apartments in Philadelphia, far from Maple Falls. But there was something chilling. In one of her final entries before her disappearance, Clara wrote, "I know Richard's suspects. He watches me closer now. Sometimes I feel like there are eyes on me, even when I'm alone. If I vanish, don't believe the first story you hear." Those words became a haunting prophecy. As detectives dug deeper, they noticed entries about more than Richard and Ethan. Clara wrote cryptically about meeting someone new in Philadelphia. She never used his name, only referred to him as the Escape. One passage read, "He understands what freedom looks like. He says he can help me start over. I don't know if I can trust him, but part of me wants to risk it." Who was this man? Was Clara planning to leave both Richard and Ethan behind? Was her disappearance a planned escape, or had this third person played a darker role? The discovery of a mystery figure, combined with the anonymous photograph of Clara meeting a man in a baseball cap, revealed in episode 2, only deepened the confusion. Among Clara's belongings, detectives found a sealed letter addressed to her sister, never mailed. Inside, Clara confessed, "If you are reading this, I didn't make it out. I tried to be brave, but the cage was stronger than me. Tell the world I was more than Richard's wife. Tell them I wanted freedom, even if it killed me." The letter sent shockwaves through her family. It transformed Clara from a glamorous socialite into a tragic heroine, a woman fighting for her life and her identity. For investigators, it raised haunting questions. Did Richard intercept her plans and silence her? Did Ethan snap when she hesitated to leave with him? Or did the Escape, this unknown figure, lure her into danger? By the close of episode 3, Clara Avery is no longer just a name in society pages. She is a woman of contradictions, glamorous yet broken, wealthy yet trapped, powerful in appearance yet powerless in her own home. Her journals revealed pain, hope, love, and fear. They exposed cracks in her marriage, a risky affair, and the possibility of an escape plan gone terribly wrong. But most of all, they left one chilling truth. Clara knew she was in danger, and she tried to leave behind a warning. Ethan Cross steps into the spotlight, and the line between passion and obsession begins to blur. Every secret has two sides. To Clara, Ethan Cross was freedom, a man who gave her laughter, hope, and a way out. But to investigators, Ethan looked less like a savior and more like a suspect. Tonight, we step into the shadows of forbidden love and ask, was Ethan Clara's escape or her undoing? In this episode, we'll uncover the story of Ethan Cross, Clara Avery's lover, confidant, and perhaps her greatest mistake. We'll explore his troubled past, the intoxicating affair that bound them together, and the lies that made police wonder if Ethan's love turned deadly. Ethan Cross was not Richard Avery. He wasn't polished, powerful, or wealthy. At 34, Ethan worked as a landscaper, earning enough to get by but never enough to get ahead. He lived in a small rented house on the outskirts of Maple Falls, drove an old Ford truck, and had a reputation for trouble. Bar fights, late-night arguments, a criminal record of minor offenses. But for all his flaws, people described Ethan as magnetic. He had a smile that disarmed, a laugh that carried, and an easy way of listening, really listening, that made people feel seen. That's how Clara fell into his orbit. They met when Ethan's crew was hired to redesign the gardens at the Avery estate. Clara often lingered outside, asking questions, offering lemonade, laughing at his stories. What began as casual banter became secret conversations. What began as glances turned into touches. And soon, the lonely wife and the rough-edged landscaper became lovers. Clara's journals revealed how intoxicating the affair was. With Ethan, I feel alive, she wrote. Every kiss is reckless, every touch a rebellion. For once, I'm not Richard's wife. I'm just Clara. But for Ethan, the affair wasn't just passion. It was possession. Friends recalled him bragging about Clara, almost unable to believe she chose him. But they also noticed his mood swing, pride one moment, paranoia the next. Detectives pieced together their meetings. Secret rendezvous at motels 2 towns over. Drives into the woods where they could talk without eyes on them. Whispered phone calls late at night. But as the relationship deepened, so did the danger. Clara wanted freedom, but Ethan wanted all of her. When she hesitated to leave Richard entirely, friends said Ethan grew frustrated. When Clara vanished, Ethan quickly became a prime suspect. Police interrogated him for hours. He admitted the affair without hesitation, perhaps even too boldly. He claimed Clara told him she was ready to leave Richard, that they talked about running away together. But when pressed about the night of September 9th, his story wavered. Ethan said he was home alone, drinking and watching TV. But detectives found no one to confirm it. No receipts, no calls, no texts. Just hi. And then came the bracelet. Clara's diamond anniversary bracelet, found in Ethan's truck. He insisted she'd left it there weeks before. But to investigators, it looked damning. Was it a token of love, or evidence of something darker? The more police looked at Ethan, the more contradictions they found. Friends described him as fiercely protective of Clara, sometimes too protective. One recalled him saying, "If she ever goes back to him, I'll lose it." Another claimed Ethan once showed up drunk, ranting that Clara was too scared to leave Richard. Detectives discovered Ethan had Googled how to disappear without a trace on his home computer. When confronted, he insisted it was part of Clara's plan, not his. But then came a chilling detail. A neighbor reported seeing Ethan's truck near Blackwood Forest the night Clara vanished, the same forest where her gown was later discovered. Was Ethan telling the truth about Clara's escape plan? Or had his obsession boiled over into violence? The most dramatic moment came during Ethan's second interrogation. Detectives pressed him for hours, confronting him with the bracelet, the neighbor's sighting, the Google searches. At first, Ethan was calm, then angry, then broken. He cried, insisting, "I loved her. I loved her more than anyone. I didn't hurt Clara. She wanted out. Richard, he was the monster. Not me." But then his words slipped. "She was supposed to meet me by the river that night." The note in Clara's car, "Meet me where the river bends." Ethan denied writing it. He swore Clara had left it for him. But investigators wondered, had he just admitted to luring her there? Ethan Cross was no longer just Clara's lover. He was a man of contradictions, tender yet volatile, loving yet obsessive, truthful yet tangled in lies. The town was divided. Was Ethan a tragic figure, guilty only of loving Clara too much? Or was he the jealous lover who snapped when she hesitated to choose him over Richard? One thing was certain, Ethan Cross was no longer a supporting character. He was a central figure in the mystery of Clara Avery's disappearance. The spotlight shifts to Richard Avery, and we uncover the cracks in his story that could unravel everything. Alibis are meant to clear you, but sometimes, the more you explain, the more questions you leave behind. Tonight, we turn to Richard Avery, Clara's powerful husband. Was he the grieving spouse, or the man whose story doesn't quite add up? In this episode, we'll dissect Richard Avery's alibi the night his wife disappeared. We'll examine his business trip claim, the inconsistencies in his timeline, and the financial and personal motives that gave him everything to lose. By the end, you'll question whether Richard Avery was a husband searching for answers, or a man hiding the truth. Richard Avery wasn't just wealthy. He was Maple Falls. His empire of grocery chains stretched across the state, his donations kept schools funded, and his mansion was the crown jewel on the hill. To the community, Richard was untouchable. To his inner circle, he was ruthless. Friends described him as calculating, a man who never raised his voice in public but could silence a room with a glare. Employees whispered about his temper, though few dared speak openly. And Clara? She was his trophy, polished, poised, and always by his side. On the night of September 9th, Richard claimed he left the charity gala early, around 10 p.m., to drive to Pittsburgh for a late-night meeting at the Fairmont Hotel. By the time Clara vanished, Richard insisted he was 2 hours away. But investigators weren't convinced. Detectives began to pick apart Richard's story. At the Fairmont Hotel, a clerk confirmed checking Richard in, but surveillance cameras never captured him entering his room that night. His credit card showed a charge for room service, but the waiter couldn't recall delivering it personally. Even more troubling, Richard's cell phone pinged near Maple Falls at 11:27 p.m., less than 20 minutes after Clara was last seen leaving the gala. When confronted, Richard brushed it off, claiming his phone must have been misrouted by towers. But investigators knew cell tower data didn't lie. Meanwhile, Clara's journal painted a darker picture. In one entry, she wrote, "Richard says he'll ruin me if I leave. He says everything I have is his. Sometimes I believe him." Suddenly, Richard's alibi looked less like a shield and more like a weapon. Investigators turned to Richard's finances. What they found was staggering. Weeks before Clara's disappearance, Richard had taken out a new $5 million life insurance policy on his wife. He insisted it was standard estate planning, but detectives saw a motive. At the same time, Richard's business empire was showing cracks. A lawsuit loomed, investors whispered about bankruptcy, and divorce could have cost him half his fortune. When detectives pressed Richard on the life insurance, he became visibly angry. His lawyers quickly cut off questioning, labeling the investigation a witch hunt. But the pattern was clear. Clara wanted freedom. Richard stood to lose everything if she got it. Neighbors began coming forward with stories that chipped further at Richard's image. One recalled hearing a heated argument at the Avery estate days before Clara vanished. Another claimed they saw Richard's car near Blackwood Forest late that night, though Richard denied it. And then there was Rosa, the housekeeper. She confessed that 2 days before the gala, she overheard Richard say to Clara, "If you walk away, you'll regret it." To investigators, it sounded less like a husband's frustration and more like a threat. But Richard wasn't just powerful in business. He had influence over the town, from the mayor to the police chief. Many wondered, was Richard untouchable even if he was guilty? The turning point came when investigators obtained a warrant to search Richard's private office. Hidden behind a painting was a steel safe. Inside, detectives found a burner phone, a folder of bank statements, and, most chilling of all, Clara's unsigned divorce papers. The burner phone revealed calls to an unknown number on the night Clara disappeared. The bank statements showed Richard moving large sums offshore. And the divorce papers? They painted a clear picture. Clara had planned to leave, and Richard knew it. When pressed about the safe, Richard smirked. He claimed the documents were planted, that investigators were desperate to pin him. But to the public, the discovery was damning. The grieving husband began to look more like a man with something to hide. By the end of episode 5, Richard Avery's alibi was in shambles. His hotel story was riddled with holes. His finances painted a clear motive. And his safe revealed secrets that tied him closer to Clara's disappearance than ever before. The town was divided again. Some still believed Richard was too smart to get caught in his own lies. Others believed the truth was finally seeping through the cracks. One thing was certain. Richard Avery was no longer just Clara's husband. He was now one of the prime suspects in her disappearance. Next time, detectives scour Blackwood Forest, uncovering chilling evidence that could finally point to Clara's fate. Forests have long memories. They hold secrets, bury evidence, and whisper only to those who listen closely. Blackwood Forest was no exception. And when detectives returned there after Clara's disappearance, what they uncovered pushed this case from mystery into nightmare. In this episode, we'll follow investigators into Blackwood Forest, the place where Clara's torn gown was discovered. We'll retrace their search, uncover chilling new evidence, and reveal how the woods became central to unraveling the truth behind her disappearance. Blackwood Forest stretched over 10,000 acres of thick Pennsylvania woodland, a place of childhood hikes and teenage bonfires. But it also carried darker stories: hunters lost without a trace, campers reporting strange noises, and rumors of criminal activity hidden in the trees. For the people of Maple Falls, Blackwood was both playground and shadow. When Clara's blood-stained gown was found near its edge, the forest transformed overnight. It was no longer a backdrop. It was a suspect. Detectives believed Clara may have been lured there, perhaps killed there, maybe even buried there. And so, the search began. On the morning of September 23rd, 2 weeks after Clara vanished, law enforcement launched the largest search Maple Falls had ever seen. Hundreds of volunteers joined police officers, K-9 units, and even FBI agents. Helicopters hovered above. Cadaver dogs combed the undergrowth. Every clearing, every creek, every hollowed-out log was searched. The media swarmed, cameras capturing the eerie stillness of the forest, the orange vests of volunteers moving in lines, the haunting calls of Clara's name echoing through the trees. And then, they found something. Deep inside the forest, about a mile from where the gown was found, a search dog alerted. Beneath a layer of leaves and soil lay a shallow pit. Inside, police discovered bones. At first, they thought they had found Clara. But the coroner quickly revealed the remains were decades old, belonging to another woman missing since the 1980s. The revelation stunned the town. Had Blackwood been hiding secrets all along? Was Clara the latest victim of a predator who used the forest as a dumping ground? But the discoveries weren't over. Days later, another search team came across something chilling. Tire tracks, partially obscured by rain, leading into a secluded clearing. At the center of the clearing was a burned-out fire pit. In the ashes, investigators found fragments of fabric, a metal zipper, and what appeared to be bone shards. Forensic tests later confirmed traces of human DNA. But whose? Theories exploded. Had Richard brought Clara here to silence her? Had Ethan, with his old Ford truck, used this hidden spot to cover his crime? Or did the mysterious man in the baseball cap, as in the first episode, too connect to this macabre scene? The forest became a stage where every suspect seemed guilty. The most haunting discovery came on the 5th day of the search. Near a creek, half buried in mud, a deputy found a small diamond bracelet. Clara's bracelet, the same one that had previously been found in Ethan's truck. Had Ethan planted it? Had someone moved it? Or had Clara been dragged through these woods twice? The bracelet reignited fury in the town. Some demanded Ethan's immediate arrest. Others accused Richard of planting evidence to frame him. And Clara's family, they broke down, knowing another piece of her had been found, but still no Clara. Blackwood Forest had transformed from backdrop to central character. It revealed bones from another unsolved case. It provided evidence burned and buried. And it delivered Clara's bracelet, a cruel reminder that her story was far from over. But the forest also left unanswered questions. Was it simply a hiding place for desperate men? Or was it the silent witness to Maple Falls' darkest secret? One thing was certain. In Blackwood Forest, shadows never stay buried for long. The body in the wrong grave. Investigators make a discovery that shakes the entire investigation and links Clara's case to a mystery thought long forgotten.